breathe it in. The scent of time. I push the heavy wooden door against the autumn chill and enter in a kingdom where the world is standing still. The air is thick with vanilla and the dust of 50 years, a chemical concoction that can settle all the fears. It's the smell of leather binding and the lining turning gold, the greatest stories ever written and the ones that weren't told. I take a deep and heavy breath and let the city go, moving into shadows where the amber lanterns glow. The shelves are rising upwards like the canyon walls of thought, holding every lesson that the centuries have taught. I run my fingers down the spines of buckram and of silk, the color of the pages turning soft as morning milk. It's a forest made of paper, it's a garden made of ink, a place where it is safe to just be quiet and to think. The fragrance is a memory of a grandfather's retreat, a sanctuary hidden from the noisy urban street. Wood and bone, paper and stone, breathe the ghost of what we love most. The smell of old paper, a perfume for the soul, giving back the spirit, the absolute control. A library of longing in a minor woody key, the true and silent essence of the inner mystery. A secret in the binding that is waiting to unfold. The crackle of the spine is like a fire in the grate, a small defiance offered to the iron hands of fate. I find a pressed and faded flower near the center of the book, a fragment of a summer that a distant lover took. The scent of dried up lavender and ink upon the leaf, a temporary window into joy and into grief. There is wisdom in the gravity and wisdom in the weight, something more substantial than the digital estate. The texture under fingertips is honest and is real, a tactile kind of magic that the spirit needs to feel. The rain is getting louder on the glass above my head, but I am safe among the words that ancient men have said. The bookstore is a vessel sailing through the sea of time, putting every feeling into rhythm and to rhyme. Wood and bone, paper and stone, breathe the ghost of what we love most. The smell of old paper, a perfume for the soul, giving back the spirit, the absolute control. A library of longing in a minor woody key, the true and silent essence of the inner mystery. Turn the page, soft with age. In a much larger design, a sentence or a paragraph, a singularized line. But here among the giants I can feel the connection, a quiet and a beautiful and a deep reflection. The ink is like the blood of all the thinkers gone before, flowing through the structure from the ceiling to the floor. I am just a visitor, a student of the grain, cleansed by the aroma and the rhythm of the rain. The light is getting dimmer as the afternoon departs, but the fire of the intellect is glowing in our hearts. I'll carry this perfume with me out into the gray, a shield against the frantic in the ordinary day. The smell of old paper is the anchor of the mind, leaving the confusion and the static far behind. So let the rain keep falling and let the shadows grow. I found the only sanctuary that I need to know. Wood and bone, paper and stone, breathe the ghost of what we love most. The smell of old paper, a perfume for the soul, giving back the spirit, the absolute control. The true and silent essence of the inner mystery, a library of longing in a minor woody key. Inner mystery, old paper, old paper. Read me. Read me. Stay inside. The world is melting out there. The glass is cold against my palm, a transparent divide between the heavy weather and the person here inside. The water runs in rivers down the surface of the pane, distorting all the city into patterns made of rain. The yellow cabs are blurry streaks of amber and of gold, like memories of stories that have already been told. I am the quiet observer in the center of the storm, wrapped inside the silence and the feelings that are warm. Each droplet is a prism holding fragments of the light, a microscopic universe that's disappearing from sight. They collide and then they vanish in a sudden liquid rush, adding to the rhythm of the afternoonish hush. The noise of traffic is a ghost, a distant hollow hum, beaten by the cadence of the elemental drum. I watch the grayness swallowing the spires and the street, feeling the security that is total and complete. Slide and fall, wash it all, safe and dry under the sky. Rain against the glass, a barrier of gray and blue, a sanctuary created for the spirit to renew. The rhythm of the falling is the only thing I hear, erasing every worry and erasing every fear. I have a cup of tea that's sending steam into the air, a temporary remedy for the burden of despair. The warmth is in the fingers and the warmth is in the chest as the frantic city energy is put to rest. I see a lonely figure with an umbrella of red, moving through the deluge with a heavy looking tread. But here the only movement inside the harbor and protected by the dock. The books upon the table are a fortress for the mind, leaving all the chaos and the static far behind. The rain is like a curtain that is drawn across the world, watching as the mystery of the weather is unfurled. It softens every jagged edge and cleanses every sin, opening the window for the peace to enter in. I surrender to the frequency, I surrender to the beat, in this cozy corner of the intellectual retreat. Slide and fall, wash it all, safe and dry under the sky. Rain against the glass, a barrier of gray and blue, a sanctuary created for the spirit to renew. The rhythm of the fallen is the only thing I hear, erasing every worry and erasing every fear. Water on the lens, where the city ends. Maybe the rain is just the city's way of having a cry beneath the heavy cover of the dark and leaden sky. And we are just the witnesses to the sorrow and the grace in this sophisticated and the solitary space. I find a quiet pleasure in the lack of any view, not having to distinguish between the false and the true, just the purity of water and the purity of sound, a holy kind of magic that is scattered on the ground. The light is fading quickly now, the evening is near, but everything inside the glass is absolutely clear. The peace is like a velvet cloth that's soft and it is deep, giving me the comfort and the promise of a sleep. I'll stay here for a little while, I'll stay here for a bit, and let the candle of the hope be tentatively lit. The rain against the glass is like a lullaby of old, more valuable than diamonds and more valuable than gold. Slide and fall, wash it all, safe and dry under the sky. Rain against the glass, a barrier of gray and blue, a sanctuary created for the spirit to renew, erasing every worry and erasing every fear. Only thing I hear, the glass. Stay. Stay. One day, the book on the shelf, it sits there in the shadows with the spine unbroken still, a testament to all the time I never had to fill. I bought it in a moment of a high and grand intent, a fragment of a future that I never really spent. The cover is a mystery of the blue and of the black, holding all the answers that I'm always holding back. I look at it and wonder what the narrative would be if I had found the courage and the opportunity. Every day I pass it and I say perhaps tonight, before the fading of the day and of the morning light. But life is a specific and a busy kind of way of turning all the tomorrows into a dusty yesterday. It's the unread chapter of the person I could be, the secret and the silent and the deep geography of a map I never followed and a sea I never sailed, a promise of a glory that has tentatively failed. Wait and see what might be in the lines of the signs. The unread chapter, a dream upon the shelf, the secret conversation that I'm having with myself. A story, the beginning, but an ending far away, waiting for the arrival of the perfect kind of day. Sometimes I reach my hand out and I touch the paper edge, like standing on a narrow and a very high ledge. Fear of what the words might say or what they might demand, preventing me from taking the experience in hand. What if the ending is a tragedy of soul? What if the story takes complete and total control? I find a comfort in the mystery, a comfort in the doubt, never having to find exactly what it's all about. There are people in the pages who are waiting to be born, in the silence of the evening and the silence of the morn. They are ghosts of the imagination, phantoms of the ink, waiting for the bridge of the observation and the link. I am the gatekeeper of their entire reality, the author of their temporary and their brief mortality. But the door remains a bearer of the board and of the glue between the false world here and the world that might be true. Wait and see what might be in the lines of the signs. The unread chapter, a dream upon the shelf, the secret conversation that I'm having with myself. A story with a beginning, but an ending far away, waiting for the arrival of the perfect kind of day. Turn the page, face the age. Maybe the finest stories are the ones we never read, the ones we keep inside the heart and keep inside the head, where the hero is always brave and the ending is always bright, and everything is settled in the middle of the night. Reality is jagged and reality is mean, but the unread chapter stays a perfectly pristine scene, a sanctuary of the possibility and the grace in this sophisticated and the solitary space. So I'll leave it on the shelf for just a little longer now, without a single promise and without a single vow. I'll let the mystery grow like the ivy on the wall, waiting for the inevitable and the final curtain fall. The book is my companion in the silence of the room, a radiant light that's shining through the temporary gloom. The unread chapter is a treasure and a sign that the most beautiful of futures is still and always mine. Wait and see what might be in the lines of the signs. The unread chapter, a dream upon the shelf, the secret conversation I'm having with myself. A story with a beginning but an ending far away, waiting for the arrival of the perfect kind of day. Perfect day on the shelf. Tomorrow. A ceramic cup of porcelain, a river of the black, giving me the energy and giving the spirit back. The steam is rising slowly in a spiral of the white, merging with the particles of the morning golden light. The aroma of the roasted bean is earthy and it's deep, awakening the senses from the heavy winter sleep. And on the table next to it, the bottle and the pen, ready to begin the entire cycle once again. The ink is like a liquid gold but darker than the night, prepared to turn the emptiness into a sudden light. It flows across the paper in a rimming kind of stream, capturing the image of a beautiful and dream. The scratch of the nib is the music of the mind, leaving all the noise and all the static far behind. A combination of the sensory and of the soul, giving me the absolute and the total control. Sip and write, dark and bright, bitter brew, words for you. Coffee and ink, a recipe for the heart, the fundamental tools of the literary art. A morning spent in shadows and in caffeinated grace, in this sophisticated and this solitary space. People passing in the window of the street, moving to the cadence of the busy-looking feet. But here the only movement is the flowing of the pen, revisiting the places that I haven't been since then. The coffee keeps the focus and the ink provides the soul, a balancing of elements to reach the final goal. The bookstore is the audience, the books are on the wall, witnessing the creation of the narrative and all. There's a comfort in the ritual, a comfort in the taste, the luxury of silence and the luxury of waste. To spend a whole morning on a single perfect line, watching as the meanings and the images align. The bitterness is welcome and the heat is even more, providing the security behind the wooden door. I'm a navigator sailing on a sea of caffeine, the most creative journey that I've ever seen. Sip and write, dark and bright, bitter brew, words for you. Coffee and ink, a recipe for the heart, the fundamental tools of the literary art. The morning spent in shadows and in caffeinated grace, in this sophisticated and this solitary space. Ba-da-ba-da-brew, write it down. The cup is getting empty and the page is getting full. I feel the gravity and the magnetic kind of pull of the story that is growing on the surface of the white turning into something that is honest and is bright. The ink is drying slowly in a charcoal kind of shade, a permanent according of the progress we have made. The coffee is a memory of a warmth and of a glow, a fuel for the spirit and the only way to know. So pour another cup and let the ink continue flow. We've got a long and winding and a manic way to go. The bookstore is our sanctuary, the bookstore is our home. No matter where we wander and no matter where we roam, the combination is the anthem of the intellectual day, chasing all the boring and the weary blues away. Coffee and ink are the only things I really need, a spiritual and a sensory and a caffeinated creed. Sip and write, dark and bright, bitter brew, words for you. Coffee and ink, a recipe for the heart, the fundamental tools of the literary art. A morning spent in shadows and in caffeinated grace, in this sophisticated and this solitary space. Caffeinated grace. Time. A beam of gold. The clouds have parted ways and the sun has found a crack, shining through the window on the leather and the back. A solitary pillar of the incandescent light, turning every shadow into something that is bright. Inside the column, 1,000 tiny stars, dancing in the silence and the urban hidden bars. The dust motes are moving in a slow and lazy way, the miniature ballet of the quiet afternoon day. They drift and they tumble in the invisible air, without a single worry and without a single care. Fragments of the history and fragments of the stone, existing in a universe that's purely of their own. I watch them with a wonder and I watch them with a peace, waiting for the frantic city energy to cease. They are the silent witnesses of the centuries of thought, holding every lesson that the bookstore has been taught. Dance in the light, sparkle so bright, small and so rare, floating in air. Dust motes in sunlight, a vision of the grace, suspended in the center of the solitary space. A moment of the eternity inside a single beam. Everything is exactly like a dream. Time is standing still inside the circle of the glow. There is no other place that I would ever want to go, just to be a witness to the beauty of the small, against the backdrop of the giant and the wooden wall. Each speck is a story, each speck is a life, away from all the struggle and away from all the strife. We are but dust motes in the grander kind of scheme, characters inside the universal and the golden dream. The light is moving slowly as the earth is a cathedral and the sun is the divine, making every ordinary moment look so fine. Dance in the light, sparkle so bright, small and so rare, floating in air. Dust motes in sunlight, a vision of the grace, suspended in the center of the solitary space, a moment of the eternity inside a single beam. Everything is exactly like a dream. Golden dust, in we trust. Inside the dark, searching for a meaning and searching for a spark. But as long as there is sunlight, we are beautiful and bright, defeating every particle of the heavy city night. The bookstore holds us safely in its arms of wood and ink, giving us the time and the opportunity to think about the infinite and about the very small, and the mystery that is connecting of us all. The beam is getting narrower as the sun begins to set, a vision of a beauty that I never will forget. The dust motes are vanishing into the evening shade, but the memory of the magic will never really fade. I leave the bookstore with the gold inside the eyes, underneath the heavy and the cloudy urban skies. Dust motes in sunlight are the only things I need, a spiritual and a visual and a golden kind of creed. Dance in the light, sparkle so bright, small and so rare, floating in air. Dust motes in sunlight, a vision of the grace, suspended in the center of the solitary space, a moment of the eternity inside a single beam.
Tap tap. Chapter 1. A heavy block of iron sits upon the desk of oak, waiting for the silence to be shattered and be broke. The ribbon is a river of the charcoal and the oil, ready for the labor and the intellectual toil. Each key is like a hammer striking on the metal bar, sending every letter to a destination far, a physical manifestation of the inner thought, capturing the wisdom that the many years have taught. The click and then the clack is the heartbeat of the scene, a rimming conversation with a storytelling machine. The ink is being hammered into fibers of the white, creating in a record of the struggle and the light. The sentimental oil and the scent of aged bond, a connection to the history and the deep and far beyond. I watch the moving carriage as it travels to the end, a message to a future and a hypothetical friend. Click, clack, snap, filling up the gap, line by line, everything is fine. was like a punctuation in the middle of the air, signaling the ending of a literary affair. The paper moves upwards in a slow and steady way, giving birth to ghosts of an imaginary day. I feel the resistance and the tension of the spring, hearing every sentence as it starts to loudly sing. It's a tactile experience, a struggle with the soul, giving me the absolute and the total control. There are no deletions and there are no easy paths, calculated movement and the width that left a mess. If you make a mistake, you have to wear it like a scar, reflecting on exactly who and what we really are. The bookstore is the audience, the books are on the wall, witnessing the construction of the narrative and all. The ink is still wet on the surface of the page, a testament of passion in a digitalized age. Click, clack, snap, filling up the gap, line by line, everything is fine. The typewriter's rhythm, a mechanical song, where the sentences are beautiful and long. A dance of the fingers and a dance of the mind, leaving the confusion and the static far behind. Stack of paper grows like a mountain made of snow, holding all the secrets that I finally come to know. The typewriter is warm from the friction and the heat, making the creative intervene, the task complete. I see the ink ribbons getting thinner every hour as I tap into the source of the intellectual power. The rain against the window is a background kind of hiss, adding to the magic of the composition's bliss. So let the keys keep flying and let the story unfold, turning all the ordinary moments into gold. The typewriter's my weapon and the typewriter's my tool, playing by the ancient and the mathematical rule. We built a bridge of letters over the divide, with absolutely nowhere for the spirit left to hide. The rhythm of the machine is the anthem of the ink, the only way to really feel and only way to think. Click, clack, snap, filling up the gap, line by line, everything is fine. The typewriter's rhythm, mechanical song, where the sentences are beautiful and long. Leaving the confusion and the static far behind. A dance of the fingers and a dance of the mind, static far behind. One, two, three. One, two, three. Na, 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 na. Going up the wooden rail is polished by the many decades past. I step upon the bottom rung, the die is finally cast. The ladder glides so smoothly like a vessel on the lake, a journey into heights for the intellectual's sake. I leave the floor behind me and I leave the common ground, rising up into the space where silence can be found. The air is getting warmer and the dust motes start to glow, watching all the people moving slowly down below. I reach the middle section where the ancient poets reside, opening the portals that they often try to hide. The leather and the vellum are like
steps upon the wall, waiting for the one who has the courage to not fall. I am a giant climbing in a kingdom made of ink, closer to the ceiling where the constellations blink. The perspective is shifting as I leave the world behind, exploring the geography of the universal mind. Step by step, ring by ring, hear the wooden ladder sing. Higher now, touch the sky where the heavy secrets lie. Ladder to the clouds, a bridge of wood and air, taking the ambition and the spirit everywhere among the silent giants in the uppermost of heights, bathed in the reflection of the amber lantern light. I stop at shelf 11 where the history is deep, watching over secrets that the tired people keep. The bookstore looks like a garden from this vertical view, a landscape that is beautiful and absolutely new. The maze of shelves is intricate, a pattern of the thought, holding every lesson that the centuries have taught. I feel a sense of lightness and I feel a sense of grace, suspended in the center of the solitary space. My hand reaches for a volume that is covered in the gray, a treasure that was hidden from the ordinary day. The texture of the fabric is a pleasure to the hand, a fragment of a distant and a very foreign land. I am a navigator on a vertical of sea, looking for the island of the opportunity. The ladder is my vessel and the ladder is my home, no matter where I wander and no matter where I roam. Step by step, ring by ring, hear the wooden ladder sing. Higher now, touch the sky where the heavy secrets lie. Ladder to the clouds, a bridge of wood and air, taking the ambition and the spirit everywhere among the silent giants in the uppermost of heights, bathed in the reflection of the amber lantern lights. Glide along where you belong. Maybe we are meant to reach for things beyond the grasp, waiting for the hinges of the destiny to clasp. And the ladder is the symbol of the longing in the chest, denying us the comfort and the temporary rest. I find the book I'm looking for, it's heavy and it's gold, a story that is multifaceted and very, very old. I hug it to my bosom and I start to head back down to the reality of the ordinary town. The floor is getting closer and the common world returns, but the fire of the mountain in the spirit still it burns. I step off of the ladder and I push it down the rail, hearing the vibration of the wooden handled sail. The bookstore is my sanctuary, bookstore is my sky, long after all the ordinary moments go on by. Ladder to the clouds is still ringing in the head, making every ordinary word of love be softly said. Step by step, ring by ring, hear the wooden ladder sing. Higher now, touch the sky reflection of the amber lantern light. Lantern lights, go you do. High enough. The ancestors of thought. The aisle is long and narrow, like a tunnel made of stone. I walk into the shadows completely and utterly alone. But the hair upon my neck is starting to slowly rise, as if I'm being watched by 1,000 silent eyes. The names upon the spines are like the markers on a grave, holding all the secrets that the clever people save. They are the ghosts of ink, they are the phantoms of the mind, leaving all the noise and all the static far behind. A whisper in the corner, just a ruffle of a page, a spirit that is trapped inside the literary cage. It isn't something scary, it's a warmth and it's a weight, a silent invitation to the heavy hand of fate. They wanna tell their stories, wanna be heard once again, in the middle of the rhythm and the falling of the rain. I am the bridge between the living and the dead, carrying the messages that haven't been quite said. Softly tread, words unsaid, shadows grow, ghosts we know, a ghost in the stacks, a vibration of the past, a beauty and a mystery that is designed to last, moving through the corridors of paper and of wood, searching for the person who has finally understood. I feel the temperature dropping in a localized spot where a forgotten author is lamenting what he thought. He spent his life in pursuit of a single perfect line, a structural and beautiful and intricate design. And now he lives within the fiber and the glue, waiting for a moment to be recognized by you. I touch the worn out binding and I feel a sudden spark, a beacon of the memory inside the heavy dark. The history is heavy, it's a pressure on the chest, giving us the comfort and the temporary rest to know that we are part of a much larger of a sea of making a beautiful and wild decree. The bookstore is a vessel for the souls that never die. Underneath the ceiling and the cloudy urban sky, we are but tiny vessels for the wisdom they provide, with absolutely nowhere for the vanity to hide. Softly tread, words unsaid, know. A ghost in the stacks, a vibration of the past, a beauty and a mystery that is designed to last. Moving through the corridors of paper and of wood, searching for the person who has finally understood. Speak to me, set them free. But the connection that I feel will never really fade. I am a guest inside a house of memories and ghosts. Listen to the stories of the solitary hosts. They don't need a monument and don't need a parade, just a little attention to the progress they have made. A reader is a priestess in a temple made of ink, opening the window for the spirit and the link. So walk with me, you phantoms, through the garden of the mind, leaving all the trouble and the sorrow far behind. The bookstore is our sanctuary, bookstore is our home, no matter where we wander and no matter where we roam. The ghost in the stacks is a promise of the light, guiding us through the labyrinth of the heavy city night. We leave the aisle with a presence in the soul, making the fragmented and the broken spirit whole. Softly tread, words unsaid, shadows grow. Ghost we know, a ghost in the stacks, a vibration of the past, a beauty and a mystery that is designed to last. Searching for the person who is finally understood, moving through the corridors of paper and of wood. Understood in the stacks. I see you. Found it, a fragment of summer. I open up the volume to the center of the book and find a little treasure that a distant person took. A violet now faded to a shade of purple gray, a memory of a garden and a sunny summer day. It's flattened like a secret between the paper and the ink, making me stop and making the heavy spirit think. Who was the person who placed it in this home? In what city did they live? And in what forest did they roam? The edges are so fragile, they are thin as tissue paper, a ghost of a beauty that is starting to evaporate and taper. Maybe it was a gift from a lover long ago, a symbol of a passion that they wanted us to know, or maybe just a token of a solitary walk, a piece of a conversation that they didn't get to talk. It's a bridge across the decades, it's a hand across the sea, connecting the stranger with the spirit here in me. Dried and pale, a tiny sail along the sea of memory. Pressed flowers hidden in the lines of time, a visual and a silent kind of rhythm and of rhyme, a fragment of the life that was left behind the door, in the middle of the bookstore and the wooden floor. I see a little note written in the margin of the leaf, a word of the joy and a word of the grief, for Sarah with the hope that the winter doesn't last, a message from the center of the deep and distant past. Did Sarah find the comfort that she needed in the words? Did she listen to the music of the morning singing birds? The flower is the witness to the drama and the art, the beating of the temporary and the human heart. There is magic in the tangible, magic in the touch, a feeling that I really love and desire very much. The digital world is a vacuum and it's cold, but here we have the spirit and the story to be told. The bookstore is a keeper of the relics of the soul, giving back the spirit, the absolute control. A pressed and faded violet is a poem on its own, a beauty that is purely and uniquely known. Dried and pale, a tiny sail along the sea of memory. Pressed flowers hidden in the lines of time, a visual and a silent kind of rhythm and of rhyme, a fragment of the life that was left behind the door, in the middle of the bookstore and the wooden floor. close the heavy cover of the literary door. I am not the owner, I am just a guest today, passing through the memories in a quiet kind of way. Maybe one day someone will find a piece of me in a book of the poetry or a deep geography, a dried up leaf of ivy or a ribbon of the red, long after every single word of love has been said. The bookstore is a treasure chest of the hidden and the small, watching over everyone inside the wooden wall. We are just the chapters in a story without end, looking for the recognition of a distant friend. Pressed flowers are the anchors of the spirit and the mind, leaving all the trouble and the static far behind. A masterpiece of nature and a masterpiece of art, a permanent and beautiful and human part. Dried and pale, a tiny sail along the sea of memory. Pressed flowers hid. It's time. The lights go out. The final guest has stepped into the deluge and the dark, leaving on the atmosphere a professional and cool mark. The shop is silent now, except for the rhythm of the rain, beating on the skylight like a spiritual refrain. I walk around the room and flip the switches one by one. The work of the creation for the day is finally done. Each corner turns to shadow and each shelf becomes a ghost, watching over everything that I love the very most. The smell of damp wood is getting stronger in the air, a remedy for every single burden of despair. The bookstore is a vessel sailing through the ocean deep, watching over all the secrets that the weary people keep. I stand inside the center of the darkness and the gold, a story of the sanctuary, ancient and its old. The rain is my protector and the rain is my friend, as the journey of the day has come to its magnificent end. Lights go low, shadows grow, rain on only proof. Closing time in the rain, a benediction for the soul, giving back the spirit, the absolute and total control. A sanctuary of the ink and of the wooden frame, where every single feeling has a beautiful and secret name. The books are whispering together in the hollow space about the many people and the many kinds of grace. They've seen the hope and they have seen the sorrow of the day before the light was eventually taken far away. Now they rest in silence, they are waiting for the dawn, when the heavy curtain of the night is finally withdrawn. I am the keeper of the silence, keeper of the keys, navigating through the memories and through the rebeat seas. The city outside is a blur of the neon and the gray, A frantic and a weary and a dusty yesterday. But here the time is different, it is liquid and it's slow. The only kind of rhythm that I really wanna know. I feel a sense of peace and I feel a sense of pride, with absolutely nowhere for the spirit left to hide. The bookstore is my sanctuary, bookstore is my home. No matter where I wander and no matter where I roam. Lights go low, shadows grow, rain on roof, only proof. Closing time in the rain, a benediction for the soul, giving back the spirit, the absolute and total control. A sanctuary of the ink and of the wooden frame, where every single feeling has a beautiful and secret name. One more night in the light. The darkness is a velvet cloth, it's soft and it is deep, giving me the comfort and the promise of the sleep. I'll face the world tomorrow when the sun begins to rise, underneath the heavy and the cloudy urban skies. But for now the rain is music and the rain is the divine, making every ordinary moment look so very fine. The bookstore is the center of my entire reality, a masterpiece of spirit and of my own mortality. So goodbye to the paper and so goodbye to the ink, leaving me the silence and opportunity to think. The day was beautiful, but the night is even more, behind the heavy protection of the wooden handled door. Closing time in the rain is a ritual of the heart, a permanent and beautiful and solitary art. I walk into the shadows and I disappear from sight, carrying the magic of the bookstore into night. Lights go low, shadows grow, rain on roof, only proof. Closing time in the rain, a benediction for the soul, giving back the spirit, the absolute and total control. Single feeling has a beautiful and secret name, a sanctuary of the ink and of the wood.